bringing you inside the USL Championship and League One.
Segmer's got there, Marquinhos! He's been knocking on the door! He knocks it down!
Diving into all the biggest stories and top headlines.
You are ripping and roaring today.
This is USL All Access.
It's almost impossible to recreate that level of magic.
With Mike Watts and Devon Kerr on Sirius XM FC.
Welcome everybody to USL All Access on Sirius XM FC. It is the 7th of October. We are nearing the completion of the 2025 regular season. All things USL Championship. We got Jaeger Cup recaps. We got drama on Sunday on ESPN2. Match between Rhode Island and Las Vegas Lights. Most importantly, as we see it right now, Mike Watts out walking the cat. Meow. He'll be back next week. And we were kind enough to be able to get someone who's going to join us for an interview later, Sean Totsch. Until then, I got my man, Joe Malfa. Joe, one of the dominant voices in North America as play-by-play, covers pretty much everything under the sun. And when you all go to bed, he covers that too. Joe, what's up, buddy? How you doing, man?
I'm just glad to be asked back for a third time this year. This is fantastic.
3?
This is 3. I know that. I thought we had a limit of like 1 per year. That's the understanding that I was in. But I guess we're really pushing the labor laws here and just getting me to work to the grindstone here. So
is that your own height joke on yourself? Is that what that is?
You take it as you want it to be.
I still owe you for bread pudding on the last one that you covered my backside. Don't worry, it's in the mail. I promise. Listen, incredible interview with defender Sean Totsch with Louisville City. Because of that, we go deep into the vault with him. We're a little bit tight for time. 2 main talking points in the opening segment here. We'll start with number 1. Hartford Athletic continue their incredible one. Now 12 games unbeaten on the road since late May. That's 9-0-3. They're plus 16 on goal differential. But as it equates to this conversation right now, they're the 2025 Jaeger Cup champions. Boom, a shot at glory. They knock it down. Pretty uneventful overall. 20 shots, 5 on target, really 3 main chances. 2 for Sacramento Republic in the first half. They were 2 minutes apart, one of which came off the post, nearly. Second one at the start of the second half, 51st minute. Samuel Carriaga from distance, set piece off the corner. Not the greatest of moves, not the greatest of defending, certainly not the greatest of goalkeeping from what has been the greatest in this tournament, Jared Mazzola. 1-0 Hartford Athletic. They get their first piece of silverware in team history. Joe, what does this do for them this year, and how does it maybe add to the legacy of Brendan Burke?
It's interesting. I've had some interesting conversations with Brendan Burke these last couple of years since he's taken this role in Hartford, and any chance he gets, and I'm sure he's done it on this show as well, as you guys have had him on the guest previously, he always pays respect to the Hartford supporters. As a club, they've struggled. The playoffs haven't been a thing. There hasn't been a piece of hardware. They're always there. They're always loud. They haven't wavered. So as far as the broader picture context of what this means for them, it's well-deserved, and I'm glad those fans have something to cheer about. What it means for Brendan Burke and for this group this year, it means I don't think they're done yet. I'm not going to sit here and say that they're going to win the title this year, but you and I have had this conversation off the air, and it's something that we could delve into now and in the coming weeks. I said it the night that Hartford thrashed New Mexico, one of our games on CBS Sports Network. I said it back then, I'll say it again. No disrespect to Charleston, no disrespect to anybody in the Western Conference. The biggest threat to Louisville taking home a title this year is Hartford Athletic. If they come together in the postseason matchup-wise, the form they're in, the confidence they're playing with, that's the big thing for me. Confidence of winning a trophy on the road against the perceived best team or top team in the West. That team is going to be just full gear, full throttle ahead the rest of the season.
Coming into the week that was last week, a really interesting stat that popped out for me. There are only 3 teams in USL Championship league play. I know I'm going to combine competitions on the back end. 3 teams in league play that were top 10 on goals per game and top 5 in goals allowed, as in least amount of goals given up on the season. Hartford Athletic, Sacramento Republic, and Louisville City. All really good company to be in. And to the point on the defensive side, you talk about how you saw them pop in numbers. I don't think they're being given enough credit on the defensive side of the ball. This team over the last 2 months, hear me out on the resume, just shut out Sacramento Republic. They shut out Colorado Springs. Keep going back through the Rolodex. The physical side, that is Rhode Island, smacked them 3-0. San Antonio, there's the New Mexico game 4-0 back on July 30th. So the balance, near perfection for Brendan Burke and his boys down the stretch.
Yeah, it's not it's a trendy pick that I think will become more popular now going into the playoffs, because when all said and done, Devin, Hartford might be the 3 seed in the Eastern Conference,
Yeah.
the way the schedule stacks out. I do want to pat myself on the back. I said that about them when they were in 12th. They were in last place going into that New Mexico game. To see where they were, to see where they are now, doing this while getting rid of Momo Jiang and your top goal scorer, your top piece, it's a testament to Brendan Burke. It's a testament to how injured they were early in the season and how they navigated the depths of those waters to get to where they are. A fun team. Congratulations to them on the Jägermeister Cup, and I'm excited to see what's next for them.
Recognize this schedule, by the way. I've maintained this. It's an interesting one. One has to imagine, given how early they went out to California for this game. They went out on Tuesday. Game wasn't until Saturday. I would assume they stayed there because tonight they take on Oakland Roots at 10 p.m. Eastern Time, 7 o'clock Pacific. Then they'll host SAC again the following Saturday at the Rowdies at Louisville City. Certainly not the easiest of stretches to finish off the year, but it's going to be a fun one. The other one that dominated the headlines, again, really tight for time, apologies here, is going to be the Rhode Island-Las Vegas Lights game. For a couple of different reasons. Number one, Rhode Island needed a win. Must win. It's that plain and simple down the stretch to keep themselves in contention of postseason play. Las Vegas Lights, mathematically not eliminated. Devin Rensing has come in over the last 8 games, stabilized of sorts, only 1 win. I believe it's 4 draws, but attack-minded, better balance in the team overall. Las Vegas jumps out to the lead. It's deserved. It's fine. There's the equalizer. And then there's drama. 77th minute equalizer. 84th minute, Devin Rensing says, you know what? Legs are getting tired. Game's getting stretched. Time for reinforcements. Nigro, left back, off. Von Koval, in. Mackenzie Gaines came on for Roy O'Driscoll. Yeah, no big deal, right? Aha. There is a problem, and it wasn't in Houston. You and I looked at each other because we're looking at the number. Von Koval's not on the game day roster. He is on the team graphic on social media, but we could hear Cano Smith and his technical area saying he's not on the roster. What ensued was absolute chaos. Rhode Island took off. J.J. Williams capped it. They win 3-1. And after the fact, Las Vegas Lights have now forfeited the match. What does that mean? Las Vegas gets a 3-0, or excuse me, Rhode Island FC get a 3-0 win. No appearances, no stats, no goals for the players at all to be included from a historical standpoint. However, any player that picked up a foul or a card in this game, that will stay on their resume for the season. There's a lot to unpack there. My good friend, Joe Malfa, I leave it to you on the red carpet.
Yeah, I'm going to keep it simple. Nothing matters. Thankfully.
Go tell the players who might be on a bonus structure that nothing matters.
For our purposes, as people covering the league and for the fans at home, this is all a lot to do about nothing. Because the way the board stacks out, and because of the fact, keep in mind, everybody, because of the fact that head-to-head points and then head-to-head goal differential are the first 2 tiebreakers, and then it's points per game in conference, and then it's total wins in regular season games. You don't get to goal differential until tiebreaker number 5. So the fact that this goes down as a 3-0 forfeit instead of a 3-1 win, who cares? At the end of the day, in the grand scheme of things, I'll unpack it for you that way. Who cares?
Credit to Las Vegas Lights, by the way, who came out front office and said, you know what? At the end of the day, it's our fault.
Yeah.
We made a mistake. No matter where the clerical error took place, Spokane earlier this year, there was a LouCity in the
I was just
game.
about to say.
Yeah. We've seen a ton of it.
I was just about to say,
but
this is PSA to every support staff member of every club in USL Championship, USL League One, USL Super League. Please double check your rosters because this has happened a couple of times this year. And unfortunately, this time it happened in a playoff race. Had the last 10 minutes of that game gone differently, where Vegas scores and wins 2-1, it would be a much bigger story because it could have completely dashed their hopes this season. It could have completely changed the dynamic in the Eastern Conference. In an alternate universe, Vegas wins that game 2-1. We wake up today and see a forfeit. You know who else is impacted? Birmingham Legion. Because if that game ended with a Vegas win the other day, Birmingham would still have been alive. Again, all's well that ends well. Turned out to be a 3-1 Rhode Island win. Now it's reflected as a 3-0 forfeit. Who cares? But just please, PSA, staff members, just double check. Proofread.
Bow on top. Everybody loves a bonus structure. They also love an interview with Sean Totsch, USL Championships all-time appearance leader, minutes leader, goals by a defender. He's actually got one stat that he doesn't have in regular season. Aiden Quinn has that mark. We'll talk about it with Sean Totsch here in a minute. You're listening to USL All Access on Sirius XM FC.
Let's get back to USL All Access on Sirius XM FC with Mike Watts and Devon Kerr.
Welcome back, everybody, to USL All Access on this beautiful Tuesday evening that is the 7th of October. Totally excited to thrust someone into this conversation. I was trying to figure out exactly how many T's I could use in totality to talk about the person that's coming in. I don't think I could go that deep. 22 twos, that's Jay-Z. Go listen to that song. I get paid to speak, but not as well as that guy. And I certainly didn't play as well as the man that is about to join us right now. Sean Totsch, current Louisville City defender, league extraordinaire, history in the depths like we've never seen before. We're going to get into the numbers and the stats and all of that in a second. But without further ado, the man that has donned the LouCity purple for what seems like an eternity. He's traversed multiple coaches. It's been divisions. It's been conferences. There's titles. There's stars. Our pets' heads are falling off. Sean Totsch, thanks for joining us, buddy. How are you?
Doing good. Thanks for having me. I'm, been part of this league a long time, like yourself, and I'm happy to be here representing my team and players in this league.
Let's get into some of the nitty-gritty numbers. The big ones first. USL Championships all-time regular season appearance and all-time appearance and minutes leader. We'll get to the other part in a second, but he's not just a pretty face. And the number next to his name in the bio, yes, because of age, it's gone up a little bit over the years. But he's also scored the most goals by a defender. Shout out to my backline brethren, because all you people hating on everybody and looking at the strikers do not give us enough credit. Understanding the background that you've come from the collegiate level of Northern Illinois, it's not a North Carolina or an Indiana jumping off the page. Coming into the championship, the tenure that has been over a decade, the players that you've played with, it's been conference titles, it's been USL Championship titles, there's the individual accolades as well. Putting you on the spot, what stands out, either individual or team, that when this is all said and done, there's one number or one award that you could take with you? What would it be and why?
I mean, as far as like appearances and stuff, I've obviously friends around the league and people have mentioned it, but as far as that and the minutes, I'm my thoughts on it is, we'll count it up at the end. We'll figure it out whenever I'm done. I don't want to be sitting here, necessarily tallying it all the time. For me, ultimately, it comes down to I want to finish my career with most league titles of any player. That's my goal. That's everyone at Louisville's goal. And I'm happy to be part of a team that, gives me a really good chance to be contending for those. Because ultimately, when it's all said and done, that's what I want to be counting up. And I want to say, I've got more than anyone else.
Is that a shot across the bow at Speedy Williams?
I was just about to say.
Yeah, so I love Speedy. Speedy's my guy, and we were roommates actually when we were teammates. But yeah, I mean, that's the competitor in me. I want to have that's the ultimate goal is that last finishing the season on a win. Only one team gets to do that, and I want to be doing that more than anyone else.
Yeah, now what we need is a Lexington-Louisville final here, Devin, so we could get Speedy a fifth or we get Sean a fourth here, and we can see if we get the tie or what we got going on. That's the storyline I want to see now.
There's not enough bourbon in Kentucky for that final to take place. No chance anybody's like that'd be a dry county in a heartbeat for sure. Sean Totsch joining the show. Totsch, one thing that I've always loved, and I joked coming in, right? Statistics. The glitz and glamour are always the strikers. You've got midfielders who are dishing in and out. They've got a flashy side to them. Being a defender, it's grimy. It's gritty. We take a lot of pride in tackles and being the guy who's the leader in the locker room, who leads by an example. And that doesn't always include statistics following. But I did reference the fact that you have the most goals by a defender in league history. I'm sure there's some pride taken in there. Your celebration, tucked in, locked in. I've got my shirt tucked in honor of you. It was a way that I played. And although in the modern game, we see tighter shirts, we see shirts out, we see socks down, cuts on the back, you've always carried this professional persona about you and your appearance on the field. Where did that start, number one, about how you carried yourself that way? And then the second part of that is, where did the celebration of tucked in, locked in come from?
Well, so I mean, it started back. I actually didn't even. Fans wouldn't even realize this of Louisville, that my first year in 2017, I wasn't even. That wasn't my thing then. It wasn't until the start of the second year in Louisville, 2018, where we're going into the season and we had won. And I'm like looking through, as you do, you like kind of reflect back on previous years. And I saw this picture of myself actually back when I played for the Rochester Rhinos. And I love the look of like the classic collared jerseys. I had my shirt tucked in. I was like taking a ball off my chest. And I was like, that's a really good look. Like, I think, I kind of want to bring that back. And so I wore it in one like preseason game. I forgot who we were playing, but I had a really good game. And like 3 or 4 people reached out to me after the game and were like, I don't know what it was, but the shirt tucked in, I think it was a thing, and I think you need to keep doing it. And I'm like, a lot of people have their superstitions, and like, I'm like, you know what? Maybe it is. And I just kept doing it, and we kept winning. I kept playing well, and I'm like, all right, well, I guess this is my thing. And then a buddy of mine, I was trying to find a way to phrase it, and my buddy, another former teammate of mine, Tony Walls, who longtime player in the league, was a legend at Rochester, came up with the phrase and told me, and I was like, you know what, I love that. This is gonna be my thing. This is gonna be my way of like, it's kind of the thing where it's become where my shirt's tucked in, I'm stepping onto the field, I'm ready to go. Like, it's kind of a part of my like almost mental checklist that like when the shirt's tucked in, like, I mean business. But it's funny because like I'll it's not a lifestyle where everywhere I go, my shirt's just always tucked in. Like, we've had times where this happened where my wife and I are walking around the Kentucky State Fair, and someone just like randomly is like, your shirt's not tucked in. And I'm just like, easy, man. I'm just trying to enjoy my corn dog here.
Hey, well, it's worked on the field, obviously, and I love that. I mean, first of all, public service announcement: let Sean Totsch live his life outside of Lynn Family Stadium. But this year, you guys obviously look. The record speaks for itself. Just the one loss. We know how last year ended earlier than you would have wanted it to against Rhode Island. This year's group has all season long felt on a mission. How would you describe the difference between last year's group and this year's group as we stand?
Each year we talk about it, team's going to be different, even if, a lot of the core players are the same. I think the one thing that it was a goal of the staff and the players was that, at no point were we ever going to feel like we got bullied in a game. We were going to go, if it was a physical battle, we were going to win it. We knew that we had the quality of players that, with the returning guys and the guys who were added, that, if it comes down to, who's going to play the better soccer, we favor ourselves. But if it's going to come down to a fight, which a lot of the playoff games do, they come down to, battling, winning individual battles, and a lot of times set pieces that, we were going to move that into our favor. And, credit to a lot of work from the coaching staff on implementing some of those things and bringing in some of the right guys. And, that's kind of been our mindset, where we're just battling, grinding, whatever it takes to win the game is what we're going to do.
Quick follow-up on that. I'm curious, plenty of a manager, obviously Danny Cruz involved in this conversation, talk about that separation of church and state. Like, even though similarities by personnel within the group, profile of player, last year's group is last year's group. And you want to make sure that, yes, you draw from it, but that you're not going back to that. That being said, last year's group could score at a moment's notice. I mean, you could ping one from the Modelo bar in the other end of the stadium, and most of you guys were putting in the upper 90. the change in mentality, not being bullied. Danny Cruz very clear from the beginning of the season, we're not going to lose a game that way, and I would much rather win a game hard-nosed, tight-knit, 1-0, and be consistent in that than some of the 5-3s, 6-4s, so on and so forth, that led to some open-ended battles that kind of got you guys in trouble. How difficult was it separating the identity of the attacking side that was so prevalent and becoming this lockdown group that I feel like it's Gandalf, all you guys standing back there, thou shalt not pass, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, ultimately, we talk a lot about that. A lot of our, chance creation can come from the defensive side of the ball as well. And so it's really like we kind of see everything collective, because, our work rate defensively and like being harder to break down, teams are going to have to throw more at us to try to score, and then it leaves them vulnerable going the other way. So it's not really, I would say, like a difficult thing, for us trying to separate it, because ultimately I think there's correlations to both sides of the ball, but it's more of a mentality that, no matter what is going to be thrown at us, or what it takes to win a game, that we have the tools that it takes to win.
Speaking with Sean Totsch, defender with Louisville City, currently sit atop the Eastern Conference. They sit atop everybody in the USL Championship. It's mostly been a runaway. I mean that out of all due respect. Charleston Battery, the only team that has been able to keep up with it. I have a feeling Joe is going to jump in here with some ideas about your background, the tenure, and how you've helped bring people along. I'm actually curious, before we get there, people that have helped you. You referenced you want to go down with the most titles, okay? Well, you got one in Rochester, you got 2 in Louisville. We joked with Speedy, he's got 1 extra because of Red Bulls. James O'Connor, John Hackworth, Danny Cruz, those are the big ones at Louisville City. Bob Lilly with the Rochester Raging Rhinos, unless we forget the triumvirate that was Paolo Del Piccolo, George Davis, and Luke Spencer during the transition from James O'Connor to John Hackworth. There's a lot of names, a lot of faces, certainly a ton of philosophies. Can you maybe give some bullet points on how one of them, all of them, affected you along the way to get to the point in your career where you're
at? So it's actually kind of funny. I feel like one of the most, I was actually speaking to my mom about this topic today, that like me and my brothers have always thrived when someone tells you can't do something, that, it's just kind of the way we're built. That, someone telling you that's not what you're going to do, or you can't do that. I actually remember, I think one of the most influential coaches is one that I never actually played with. There was the first year that St. Louis was joined the USL. The coach, I believe Dale Schilly, was his name, the very first coach at St. Louis. I was playing with a group of guys in Chicago, the Bridges to the Pros, some of the guys like Jay DeMerit went through the program. Some really big names kind of grew up in the Chicago area and went through that to get their professional start. But as I was playing there, we were having, I forgot who we were playing on the day, but the coach of St. Louis came out, and they were trying to push me to get signed there, because it was, I was playing well for the group. And he came out and looked, and he told me that for him as a professional coach, that I wasn't big enough or strong enough to be a defender, and I wasn't technical enough or good enough range of passing to play in the midfield.
Challenge accepted.
And I still remember like that being told to me. And it's something that still to this day, I can hear these words in my head, and it fires me up. So it's almost like, a part of who I am, and, just kind of knowing what motivates you, that it's more so the people that told me I couldn't do things than the people who told me, what I am capable of.
No, that's excellent. And that's actually, to Devon's point, I was going to a similar track here now, where the number is getting there age-wise for you. I'm not trying to retire you in this interview by any means, but Devon mentioned some of those guys, Luke Spencer, Paolo Del Piccolo, guys who have now gotten into coaching themselves, and here you are as a veteran on this team, still incredibly driven, to your point, and still out there every week, every game, performing at a high level. But you've got guys like Josh Jones and Brandon Days, and going further back with the Winders, where younger guys who probably look up to you in a way and are now players that can pull wisdom from you. What has it been like being that leader for them? And do you see yourself, when the time comes, transitioning into coaching yourself, given some of the wisdom that you've taken from some of these experiences in your career?
I've always been someone who's tried to more lead by example, maybe pull some guys by to the side and have individual conversations. One of the great things about being in the locker room that I'm in is you have a lot of guys with experience, a lot of guys who've, had challenges, some guys who've had success, and can really add different tools and make a collective leadership. So it's not necessarily coming down to, just myself and what I say. We're a locker room full of leaders. And I think that's one thing that makes us really successful. So, that's something I just try to, I really try to show through example and consistency. Those are things that I think, you take self-account of what, are attributes that I have that have made me successful. And I think that's probably one of the biggest. So, that's kind of what I try to lean on is show those traits and, show a good example. And then as far as, coaching and, those steps, you've seen guys and make transition and, have success, right away. You see what Luke's doing and in that group and the ball he's had. It's awesome to watch. And, Paulo's role in the club and with the first team and the academy is incredible to watch. But it still remains to be seen what I'm going to do. I'm not, I'm someone who, kind of dabbles in a lot of different things, but, I've given a lot to the game and a lot of my time. And it still remains to be seen. I'm excited about the future and what I'm doing afterwards, but at the same time, my true focus is let's get these championships. Let's get the most. Let's do everything I can for the team and for the club and the community. And if I take care of those things, I firmly believe that the next steps, will be much easier for me.
I was just about to say, we established earlier, you got a record to chase here with Speedy's titles, so let's not retire you early, but it's good to know that you're starting to have those thoughts. Back to this year's team and to that matter at hand of trying to track down another star above the crest, another title next to your name in the history books. There is more history that's at stake. I don't know how aware of this you guys are internally, if this is something that we just focus on the outside and the fans are in tune with. You're a point away from the Players' Shield. Obviously, that's right there in front of you. Winning that obviously ensures that a path to a league title runs through Lynn Family Stadium, and those are two pieces of hardware that you want to lift. There is also the potential to be one of the historically best teams all time. The points per game mark set by Orlando over a decade ago, 2.38 points per game. You guys win 2 of your final 3 games, you best that, and you become the best regular season team on a points per game basis in league history. Is that something at all that enters your guys' mind that, hey, it's not just the hardware, it's not just the Players' Shield, it's not just the league title. We want to stamp this and be one of the best teams all time with a record like this?
Honestly, not a single thought has entered my mind of that. And, I think that's, and I think if you asked every single person in our locker room, they would not give a flying F about that. Really, the history is, for me and for everyone, is, you don't really remember, who had the great regular season and all of this. It's who's lifting the trophy at the end of the year. That's our goal. And whatever it takes to prepare us for that, and we can't control what happens in some of these games. We obviously had some crazy circumstances that happened this last game that we had to deal with, late red card and, trying to defend. And so we really, we don't know what's going to happen in those games. And if we get it, awesome. But it's nothing the biggest thing that we talk about is, not having complacency. And that's because our ultimate goal is the end of the season to lift the trophy.
Sean, let's get into this season, and in whatever manner you can, try and describe what it's like being part of a group that from the outside, because of the success, the standards that have been set over the years, we all usually view the grouping to come out of Louisville City as title or bust. Like it or not, because of, from 2015 until 2023, obviously 24 ended the streak, Eastern Conference finalists every single year. There's 2 titles in 17 and 18. There's the runner-up in 19, right? There's the runner-up in 22. Pretty much, the way people view it is, as a fan or a media member, or however you want to look at it, if you don't go to a final and you don't put another star above this crest that Ben Holtzman was kind enough to send to me, then it's seen as a failure. That doesn't necessarily mean it is. Take us in the locker room. What is it like to don a LouCity jersey and the pressure that comes along with it year to year?
I honestly think the pressure's, amongst ourselves and internal, because ultimately, these are the guys that we go to battle with, and the ones that we have the high expectations for. It's the staff, it's the owners, and it's the guys in the team. We love our fans, but ultimately, nothing that they're going to say is or think is harder than what we think of ourselves or what we could have done. That's really, we're the hardest critics on ourselves. And we have the highest expectations for ourselves, day in and day out. And, that's really what it comes down to. I mean, guys in our locker room aren't looking at, articles on this or that. It really comes down to our expectation in our locker room and our expectations of each other. And, we just have, I'm lucky to be a part of such a good locker room, and guys that, hold each other accountable, are willing to put their hand up when they make a mistake. And, sometimes it's tough when you got to call your brother out when he's messed up, but it's what makes this team great. I don't know if that answered your question.
Sean, let me ask you this. I'm sure Danny's not going to listen to this interview, and it's not going to get back to him, so you have no worries whatsoever. What's it like playing for Danny Cruz?
I mean, he's intense. He expects a lot of us. He expects a lot of himself. I think that kind of his expectation of himself and his staff, comes down to us. It's tough, because there's times he'll tell you what he sees, what he thinks. He's not going to sugarcoat it. He's not necessarily afraid to hurt your feelings, because ultimately, I think that's the sign of how close the group is, when you can really be brutally honest with each other, and know that you have each other's best intentions. He says something. He says, "Hey, Totsch, you had a bad day today. It's got to be better. That's unacceptable." That's not coming because he's trying anything other than getting the best out of you and getting the best out of the team. So he's intense. There's high emotions in it. But I think ultimately what you take away is that everyone has the best intentions. So it makes it worthwhile, because we're hard on each other, but we have a lot of fun together as well as a group.
And piggybacking off of that, the group itself, you could, there's plenty of people on the outside looking in who look at your roster, and you could probably form a second 11 from your roster that probably makes the playoffs too. There's just a testament to the roster building and the depth of your group. with the way Danny handles things, with the way the competition is for you guys for the same spots, just what's that like every day, knowing that, there are only 11 spots and there probably are, I don't know, 19, 20 capable starters in your group. What is that competition like day in, day out? And how does Danny manage all of that with all you guys?
Yeah, I mean, it can be tough. I mean, one of the hardest things about being a professional is that you have to want the best for your teammate who's playing the same position for you, even if, they're playing well. I don't want to earn more playing time because Arturo or Josh or Kyle or Brandon, the other center backs are, is playing poorly. And I feel like I kind of missed upon with a lot of players and teams in the league, that you're like kind of out for yourself, and you're almost, it doesn't do anything for the group when you're earning things because someone else is done poorly. So I mean, I think that's another big part of the piece here, that we genuinely want the best for each other, and we're genuinely pushing for each other because we know it's going to make us better. And like, ultimately, a lot of days when we do our 11 aside, we'll do, just like any team, like some scout days where there'll be a scout team, and then like, maybe a projected lineup, or mix match it depending on what the game plan heading up to the match day on the weekend calls for. But a lot of times what we say is, the pictures that you see on the training ground can be tougher or better than some of the weekends that we have, and it's no offense to any of the other teams, but that's just like the quality of players that we have, and the level of intensity that we train at, that even if we're playing short bouts, that some of those can be tougher pictures and harder things to solve than you might see on the weekend. And I think that's also another piece of what makes the team so good.
Beautiful. Well said. A couple of fun ones before we get you out of here, Sean. First one, heard a rumor years ago you're pretty into cooking. At that point in time, the rumor was sous vide. That was your preferred method that you were chasing. Where are we at in the culinary arts? What tickles your fancy these days? Are we a grill guy? Are we still in the French culinary aspect? What's going on?
Yeah, I was dabbling in the sous vide for a while. I think you probably saw a video I made that was like, looks like it was edited by a 3-year-old. I kind of go in through phases. I, bought a pizza oven, dabble with that every once in a while. The cooking has kind of taken a back seat to other, ventures in my life that I've, kind of naturally go in and out of. But I built a kitchen in my new house, and I've got a beautiful kitchen to cook in, that I just, right now I just have a Blue Apron, a Blue Apron membership, and they just send me my meals that I cook. But more of a grill, like grill or some steaks on the stovetop. Nice little pan sear on a steak. That's probably my go-to in the culinary arts.
Love that. Another rumor that came out earlier this season, and if it's true, it is going to absolutely blow my mind, that the pronunciation on your name had changed and or was being said for over a decade incorrectly, and that it's not Tosh, that it was Totsch. Like,
yes.
no S.
Yeah, so I mean, the way it's meant to be said is like you're saying coach, but with a T. But ultimately, when it's said fast, it doesn't, Tosh. It's like it's pretty close. Where it gets, the only thing that really frustrates me is when occasionally you'll get like a Tosh.
Totsch, yeah, no, not Totsch.
Or
nope.
Gross.
Yeah, it's like Totsch or Tosh. I'm like, all right, we're not even trying here.
So how do we handle this moving forward? What do we say?
Well, I mean, you say Totsch, like you're saying coach, but with a
Look
T.
at that. Look at that. Amazing.
There you
Love it. Last one, fun one. Probably know the answer, that nobody gives a flying you know what, 4 letters or not. In a perfect world, you finish off this regular season, you finish off the Eastern Conference, and you guys in LouCity are playing to put another star above the crest. Any care of opponent at all, just for fun for us to speculate? Do you want to see a run by Phoenix so you can remind them that you're still the big brother back in 2018 that owned them in the final? Is it maybe the noisy neighbor from Lexington in their first year to hush hush and no, they too are the little brother? Do you want to repay the favor to San Antonio of 22 and the job that was not completed? Or is there just throw caution to the wind, nobody cares at all?
Yeah, I mean, I would side with the latter, that it's, ultimately what we're trying to do and what we've been trying to do all year and improve is that, no matter what the team is, they don't want to come here and play us. And, it might seem laughable at times, but our level of expectation that when teams come to play us at home, it doesn't matter who they are, we're going to play to win. It doesn't matter if it's Eintracht Frankfurt, they come into town. Like, after the game, if we don't win, it's like, that's not good enough, guys. So, I mean, really, it's we really try to keep the mindset internal and let the external, the things we can't control, just, be what it be.
Well said. That standard set there for a reason. You guys replicate it every single year. You'll host Miami on the weekend. That will complete the regular season. You'll travel to Orange County. And the finalement of the 2025 regular season, Hartford Athletic, who are making some moves in the Eastern Conference, could be a fun preview of a possible playoff opponent. Sean Totsch, appreciate you, man, coming in. We expressed our admiration, certainly, again, for not just everything that you've done for the league, certainly for that city, but joining us for this brief glimpse of time, giving everybody a peek behind the curtain. Wish you nothing but the best moving forward on the rest of the way in the regular season and into the playoffs for you and your guys.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for taking your time. And, I take a lot of pride representing this team, representing the city, and, a lot of growth personally. And the journey continues, and we'll see how many I end up with at the end.
All the best. Thanks, brother. There he goes. Sean Totsch, defender, LouCity, minutes, goals, appearances. Nothing really matters. Nobody really cares except everybody in that locker room for a star above the crest and what is a journey of about a month and a half's time to be able to add a third one for LouCity. Stick around. We'll talk after the break about what could be matchups heading into postseason for 2025 and USL Championship play. You're listening to USL All Access on Sirius XM FC.
Giving insight to all the biggest moments in Championship and League One. This is USL All Access on Sirius XM FC with Mike Watts and Devon Kerr.
Welcome back, everybody, to USL All Access on Sirius XM FC. Incredible interview moments ago with Sean Totsch, defender from Louisville City. He has left the building. Louisville City, as we approach playoff time, obviously has not. Right there, record-breaking season once again. They don't really care. All they want is another star above the crest. Ton of results on the weekend that could impact who their opponent in the Eastern Conference and or, if they make it all the way to the title game, might be. Devon Kerr, Mike Watts walking the cap. Meow. Always good. And Joe Malfa back. Joe, I digress. Are you ready?
Tucked in, locked in.
Awesome. Great. Results on the weekend. Colorado Springs over San Antonio FC, ends a 12-match winless streak. It's their first win since 2019. They're currently 7th in the table at 24 points, one up on Phoenix in 8th. Stay with me here. 3 ahead of Orange County, but Orange County have a game in hand. How does this help Colorado Springs? They're still battered, banged up. Kyle Vassell, a little bit injured, not necessarily running a ton of goals to their name, but they do get a 2-0 result against San Antonio.
This is a giant ball of yarn to tangle, because you could turn around and say that, they're trying to fight for their lives still, and it's Orange County with a game in hand trying to track them down. I could turn it around and say they're trying to get a home playoff game, because as much as they're 3 points above the playoff line, they are 3 points back of a home playoff game. It is anybody's guess at this point. Colorado Springs, though, it feels like they've kicked it into a higher gear. They had a little stumble after a nice stretch post-summer mental health break. They finish at Charleston, home Vegas, at Tulsa. Difficult by any stretch. But maybe you do get lucky in the sense that Charleston are pretty much locked into the 2. Maybe they're starting to rotate. Vegas season's about to be over. Technically not yet, but about to be. And who knows, that last game, Tulsa could be locked into the 1 seed. So you could have Vegas, who's in last place, surrounded by 2 teams who are locked in and not going all out. So I think it's more likely, I guess to put a bow on your conversation, I think Colorado Springs is more likely to have a home playoff game than to miss the playoffs at this point.
Well said. And to your point, in terms of teams that scare me for a 1 seed, a 2 seed, Tulsa, Sac, if New Mexico squeaks their way in there, I still maintain that Colorado Springs and Phoenix scare me the most if they drop that low. Their ability to attack, the quality they can provide on the defending side of the football, also understanding that Phoenix will spot almost any single team 3 and then find a way to come back. but they're certainly fun and electric, and it makes it very interesting for an Orange County team who's trying to chase down those teams at the bottom of Western Conference. Orange County not as consistent. Who has been consistent? FC Tulsa. They get another result on the weekend. They take down Lexington 3-0. Logan Ketterer thrown out in the 35th minute. I still can't tell from the camera angle whether or not there is actual contact. You could make the argument for intent. There's a defender in the vicinity. I don't know if it's 4 pillars. Either way, it's 3 points. They're now 6 points up on Sac in the Western Conference. Sac has a game in hand. How much does it do for Tulsa, Joe? And does Sac have the ability to track them down for the number 1 seed in the West?
I think they have the ability to do so. I'm not going to sit here and predict they will. You look at their schedules and compare them. Tulsa hosting San Antonio, at El Paso, hosting Colorado Springs, all tough tests. Sacramento at Hartford looking for some vengeance on that Jägermeister Cup finish. And for that reason, I will say Sacramento wins that game. Follow me here. They win that game. That's their game in hand. So comparing apples and apples now, it's 3 points with 3 games to play. And those 3 games for Sac are at Lexington, home Charleston, home Miami. That Sac schedule is a lot more favorable than the Tulsa schedule. I think Tulsa gives them the old stiff arm and holds on to the 1 seed, but this is by no means done and dusted.
Knowing that you would never place a bet in your adult life ever, whenever you reach that, let me know.
Never, yeah.
Would you pick Tulsa or Sac at this point in time if you had to?
If I had to pick at this point, it's Tulsa.
Love that. There's the West is done. I'm tossing the East on your end. Where's your head at there?
Yeah, my head is spinning in the Eastern Conference because you've got 2 battles here. The good thing is the Eastern Conference is kind enough to be in a position where we don't have to look at the top 2 teams. Louisville's number 1, Charleston's number 2. Charleston's not catching Louisville. Nobody is catching Charleston. So for all intents and purposes, it's a 10-team table. Oh, wait, there's actually 2 teams who are eliminated. It's an 8-team table that we're focused on right now. Of those 8 teams, there's 2 battles. There's the home playoff game battle. There's a battle at the playoff line. Nobody wants a home playoff game, apparently, because this week, Loudoun lost. North Carolina lost. Pittsburgh in 6th lost. Hartford won, but that was the Jägermeister Cup game, so it didn't impact the standings, of course. So nobody wants, they're all playing hot potato with the home playoff game. At the playoff line, though, Indy lost, Tampa Bay won, Rhode Island won, Detroit City won. So the teams that are at the line that want to get in are winning. The teams that are battling at the playoff line, or the home playoff line, are losing. I can't make sense of any of this right now.
Yeah, it's an absolute mess. To your point, Pittsburgh all the way down to the Tampa Bay Rowdies. There's 7 points differentiating there, but there are 3 games to go for every single one of them. It doesn't really feel like anybody's willing to fully grasp this opportunity. Hounds, loss. Indy 11, loss. Loudoun, loss. North Carolina, loss if you want to jump up in front. Nobody wants to seal the top 4. Nobody wants to seal postseason. In and out. Either team outside looking in right now, Rowdies or Indy, do they get in or out?
I think if one of the 2 teams has a chance, it's Tampa Bay. I think they're in better form. I say both teams that are out stay out.
No losses in the last 5 matches. Back up your statement. How about a team or 2 that are in? Do you trust anybody enough to lock it right now, right there at the playoff line? Or do you feel like someone's going to drop out, to your point about the Rowdies?
You're sticking in the East. If I'm going to say the Rowdies have the best chance to get in, I think if there's a team that stumbles out, it's Detroit City. But like I said, I think the 8 in are the 8 teams, and it's just a matter of who slots in where, because the way those the 5 non-clinch teams, because Louisville, Charleston, North Carolina clinched, Loudoun, Hartford, Pittsburgh, Detroit City, Rhode Island not clinched. If you ask me to rank those 5 teams as far as who slots in where, no idea, but those 5 will be the 5 playoff teams.
It's a mess in either conference. We love it. It's the tightest we've ever had, even though the Player Shield is an absolute runaway with LouCity, who will officially clinch on the weekend. Stick around. There's all your recaps. We got some previews. You're listening to USL All Access on Sirius XM FC.
You're listening to USL All Access on Sirius XM FC. Here are your hosts, Mike Watts and Devon Kerr.
Welcome back, everybody, to USL All Access on Sirius XM FC. No caffeine, no energy drink, nothing will top the pace that has been this week's episode. Apologies for how rampant it's been. Long interview with Sean Totsch. Don't have much time left. We're going to make this plain and simple. Mike Watts, walking the cat. No noise. Insert it on your own. Joe Malfa, kind enough to join us. Joe, we talked about the East. We talked about the West. We did recaps, titles, bottom, playoff line, top 4. What are you watching this weekend and why?
Rhode Island hosting Tampa Bay Rowdies. 8th place Rhode Island on 34 points. Tampa Bay Rowdies on 30 points. Tampa Bay wins that game and keeps their good form going. We got a 1-point difference with 2 games to go.
Love it. Joe, you learn anything this week?
I learned that after making your bed, the best way to start your day is tucking your shirt in.
And I learned that there is another person in the USL Championship sphere that might cook more than I, although maybe not at the present moment. That's USL Championship great and defender Sean Totsch, who was kind enough to join us from Louisville City. If you missed anything, catch it on the SiriusXM app. You can also catch this in about 2 days' time on the USL Championship YouTube page. Good night, everybody.
This is USL All Access. If you missed any portion of the program, listen back anytime on the SXM app.